Sitting on top of the world's largest oil reserves, Venezuela should be reaping the benefits. The tug of war to control Venezuela is complicated. It starts with two men with claims to the presidency, and while Nicolas Maduro currently has the support of the military, Juan Guaido appears to have broad support in Congress and among the people. Now, Maduro is being propped up by Russia, China, Turkey, Cuba, as well as Nicaragua and Bolivia. And Guaido's support includes the U.S., as well as the Lima Group, which comprises Canada and most of Latin America. Mexico has declared itself neutral, and the EU wants to see new elections, or it will openly back Guaido.
I think Minister Freeland said it earlier this week. Why Canada should get involved with Venezuela? It's because it's in our neighborhood. It's our neighbors that we need to help. There's a sense of solidarity that we owe to those people.
On Monday, Canada will be hosting the Lima Group in Ottawa. Its goal is to come to a consensus on how to help Venezuela from humanitarian and political points of view. To that end, Canada and Justin Trudeau is expected to play a crucial role.
This is a very high-risk strategy to try to really force this issue to end soon. But this is very, very, very risky, I have to say. And this is also potentially leading to an unbelievable humanitarian crisis that could happen very soon.
And that puts even more pressure on Canada and the Lima Group to help find a resolution. Sanctions that prevent the Maduro government from tapping into any oil profits. See the country run out of gas. It's a country crippled by hyperinflation, food shortages, and crime, leading to an estimated 3 million citizens fleeing by any means possible, including walking over the border, creating a crisis that is anything but clear.
Canada is playing a pivotal role in trying to resolve the crisis in Venezuela. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is hosting a key meeting in Ottawa and has pledged $53 million in humanitarian aid to the Venezuelan people. The meeting of the so-called Lima Group in Ottawa is designed to find a way to isolate Nicolas Maduro and allow his rival, Juan Guaido, who has declared himself interim president, to take power.
The time for democratic transition in Venezuela is now. The international community must immediately unite behind the interim president seeking to restore democracy to the country.
Maduro, though, is going nowhere at this stage. He made it clear again today he has the support of the military. And Maduro rebuffed the American President Donald Trump, who has said using military force is an option. Maduro warning today that President Trump risks a repeat of the Vietnam War. Correspondent David Aiken is following all of this. David.
Now, in an all-day closed-door session, Lima Group countries, along with observers from the U.S. and from Europe, spoke about resolving the economic and political crisis, but they also talked about how they could do more about the humanitarian crisis. Already, Donna, about 3.5 million Venezuelans have fled their country. That's about 10% of the population, and that makes that the largest refugee crisis in the world right now outside of the Middle East. Meanwhile, there are reports that inside the country, as many as 200,000 could perish without vitally needed medicines.
And David, President Trump has been talking tough through this, saying military intervention in Venezuela is an option. Was there much reaction to that at this meeting in Ottawa?
Yeah, I think so. And both inside the Lima Group and elsewhere, the prevailing view is that such talk is, well, at the very least, not helpful right now.
No mention whatsoever of military intervention. We are looking for a proper constitutional outcome for the sake of the Venezuelan people.
Now, the U.S. is not formally a part of the Lima Group. It is an observer. Today, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo participated in part of the meeting by video conference. One thing the Lima Group did do today is call on Venezuela's military to demonstrate loyalty to interim President Guaido. Now, one other note, though Mexico is a member of the Lima Group, there was no Mexican representative at the meeting in Ottawa today. One reason, Mexico is trying to stay neutral, supporting neither Maduro nor Guaido at this point, because it's offering to mediate an end to the crisis.
The latest standoff only intensifies the desperation of Venezuelans. The border with Colombia, through which humanitarian aid from Canada and others could flow, has been blocked by the Venezuelan government. President Nicolas Maduro calls aid a threat from the American empire and Donald Trump. The congressionally designated president, Juan Guaido, calls the blockade absurd and says he'll try to get the aid through. The search for a political resolution shifted to Uruguay. The leader of the European Union met with a handful of Latin American leaders, calling for a peaceful solution.
Canada did not come late to the crisis in Venezuela. It was a member of the Lima group with 10 Latin American countries calling for Juan Guaido to be recognized as interim president. Then came the United States, and then most European countries and others, bringing to more than 40 countries that support Guaido or that are calling for new elections. Now, Nicolas Maduro is backed by few Latin American countries, including Cuba, and some big international players, such as Russia. So the picture that emerges beyond the groundswell against Maduro are political alignments of left versus right against the backdrop of historic mistrust of foreign intervention in Latin America.
It certainly stirred suspicions on the political left in this country.
I think Canadians should say, we expect our government to stand up for the people of Venezuela.
It's made things awkward for the NDP leader, who has wavered on Canada's stance.
I'm taking the position that the people of Venezuela have a sovereign right to make that decision.
This academic suggests Ottawa is wrong to take sides in this Latin American conflict.
I think that people are misreading the political tea leaves, don't understand and don't appreciate just how polarized society is in Venezuela and what a potential bloodbath this can become.
Está del lado.
Venezuela. Out of Venezuela. Hands off 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 Venezuela. Respect the human right and opinion of the people. Respect the human right and opinion of the people. Why are you telling me like that? You don't have the right. You don't have the
We in Canada do acknowledge people's democratic right to protest and the views of Canadians.
Hands off Venezuela. Hands off Venezuela.
Explain what is going on in Venezuela right now, because there's so much confusion. From your point of view, how do you see it?
As you say, there's plenty going on, but I see three main battlegrounds. One is taking place in the border between Venezuela and Colombia and has to do with humanitarian aid. The United States and a bunch of Latin American countries are providing food and medicines to be sent to Venezuela that desperately needs it, and the Maduro government wouldn't let it in. And that tension is going to build because there's a starving country waiting for it, and so it's going to be part of that. The second battleground is in the international financial system. The new government, Juan Guaido government, is trying to get control of the assets that the government of Venezuela has internationally. Notably, there is an oil company, an energy company called Citgo, that is owned by the Venezuelan National Oil Company. So the control of Citgo is now an important legal and financial battleground. And so at this point, they are staying closely aligned with the Lima group, which is this group of Latin American countries plus Canada and the United States that is coordinating the international pressure against the regime.